Part of what makes America such an amazing place is the fact that we have a First Amendment that provides everybody the right to free speech. No matter what you say, you have the right to believe it or say it. That doesn't matter whether your views are kosher or on par with what is accepted present day, or whether your views contradict that, whether they're incendiary, even hateful. This is allowed under the First Amendment. You're already seeing those rights disappear on social media. If you say the wrong thing, then people anonymously are going to come after you and try to take away your job, your livelihood, try to separate you from your friends. Most people that have said something remotely controversial have experienced this in some form or another. Now you have the state, which is actively trying to suppress the First Amendment. New York City, under the excuse of COVID, Mayor, gigantic, moronic Bill de Blasio has stated that they would not be granting permits to groups and gatherings over a certain number of people. That means that the Feast of San Gennaro, put on by the Italian community of New York City, is off the table, gone by the wayside. See you later. Sporting events, no way. Jewish ceremonies, oh, definitely not. Since the beginning of COVID, Bill de Blasio has been harassing the Jews, locking up the playgrounds, not allowing them to have funerals, but he is making an exception. Good old Bill, making the exception for Black Lives Matter protests. Black Lives Matter protests are now allowed as a free form of expression, and the city will go ahead and permit said protests. Not anybody else. This is favoring one form of political speech over another. This is very much anti-First Amendment. We all should be granted equal protections under the law. I challenge you to contradict me here. What am I not understanding? How is this fair treatment? You want equity? You want fair treatment? You want equal rights for everybody? You don't do that by smacking down one group and promoting another. Black Lives Matter is not that great an organization. I approve the message Black Lives Matter. However, the organization are trained Marxists. All the money that they're raising is going via AppBlue to Democratic politicians who, of course, are going to owe them. And they're going to try to get them reparations or something else that community wants. So this is what goes on in communist regimes. In any authoritarian government, the dictator decides what type of speech is allowable. This is the difference between those countries and America. This is one of the reasons why America has prospered. The radical left is trying to turn those tables, allowing one form of speech but not another. Do you think that has a beneficial effect? You see, one of the benefits of free speech is the fact that we are able to solve our differences peacefully. It allows us to communicate with one another and for some common ground to be found. But if you amplify only one speech and you suppress the other, then one way to solve that dilemma is via violence. So you are beginning to foment more ammunition, literally and figuratively, for civil war between races in America. This is a sad state of affairs. Racism was a dying breed. I'm not saying it didn't exist, but those logs were burning far less brightly than they did in the 1950s and the 1960s. Racism has receded, and yet you are intentionally blowing and stoking the flames in order to create division in the United States. And it will lead to repercussions because you can't be favoring one group's right to speak over everybody else. The Feast of San Gennaro, something that brings the community together, thrown by the wayside, gone, see you later, not approved. Why? Under the excuse of fighting COVID. But yet, you're going to approve of this group's right to speak. This is very much anti-American and why I am losing faith in our country. And we have to speak up against this. We have to speak up against that gigantic clod, Bill de Blasio, that racist who treats Jews with great enmity, yet smiles and rolls out the Black Lives Matter logo on the streets of New York. Do you think that everybody is approving of that? Meanwhile, in California, where they painted a similar Black Lives mural on the pavement, on the street, and people came and tried to erase it with black paint, spreading the black paint, they're being charged with a hate crime. Why can one group be given the right to propagate their message and another group on public roads not be able to contradict it. Yet, meanwhile, anybody who tears down a statue is being set free. This total double standard in policing, in freedom of speech, and how you treat different people based on the right race is the definition of racism. And it will lead to, if this continues to go on, it will lead to violent repercussions within the United States. And this is something that I want to avoid. So please, tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how this is not authoritarian. Tell me how this is not anti-American. How does this not violate the First Amendment? It absolutely does. One form of political speech is treated with great deference and preference over anybody else. You have to support the narrative that the state supports. This is not America. This isn't even Russia. It's worse than Russia, in my opinion, because it's along racial lines. At least the Russians were homogenous. You want to see real racism? Go to Eastern Bloc countries. I used to live in the Eastern Bloc. I lived in the Czech Republic. I visited Russia. I visited Ukraine. You want to see racism? Try mentioning the word gypsy to one of these people. Try going there as a black man. See how well you're treated. America is the least racist country with the greatest heterogeneous population. But we're throwing it all by the wayside and re-elevating racism, breathing oxygen onto the dying flames. It's sad. It's wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong in the comments. Give this thing a thumbs up here on YouTube and spread the message. Subscribe. Peace and blessings to everybody. Peace.